Well, President Trump also went on a big tax cut tear today. Watch this.
For 40 years, they couldn't pass anything, and they didn't know why. I said, how is it hard to pass tax cuts? Turned out it was not that hard. It was not easy, but we changed the name. I said, because, you know, being a person that's only been doing this for 2.5 years, I said, don't use the word reform, use the word tax cut. Because when you talk about tax reform, that could mean your taxes are going up, and your taxes went down. They went down a lot.
Oh, I can't wait to see how much. Well, at a town hall last night, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi said her party will work to repeal the entire GOP tax plan if they win control of Congress in the midterm, saying, quote, it's not about chipping away at this piece or that piece. It's about a comprehensive look at what our tax policy should be for the future. So, is Nancy out of her mind? Let me ask my number-crunching party panel. They know better than anyone tonight. Townhall.com editor and Fox News contributor Katie Pavlich is here. And the host of You're Welcome, also author of the best-selling book, Dear Reader, Michael Malice is here, along with Townhall.com political editor and Fox News contributor, Guy Benson. Welcome, everyone.
Hey. Thank you for having us.
So I think the only thing Republicans are going to get done is, this tax plan. It's done. It's sealed. Most people are happy with it. Do you believe Nancy Pelosi when she says that Democrats, if they win back the House, are going to take the thing out by the root?
I think they might try, but they might run into some problems, because if you uproot the Republican tax law that no Democrats voted for, by the way, that would mean
thanks, Joe Manchin,
massive tax increases on 90% of the country, including almost everyone in the middle class. And it's interesting, you see the wording that Pelosi uses to talk about repeal. She doesn't want to use that word. The deputy leader of the DNC, Keith Ellison, was asked directly, will you repeal the Republican tax law and the middle class taxes, tax cuts in that law? And he was dancing around. He didn't want to answer the question, because if they say yes or no, they're admitting that there are middle class tax cuts in the law, which they denied deceitfully throughout the entire debate over it. So they can talk about repeal.
But middle-income earners are now looking at their paychecks going, wait, there's more money in here. I like more money.
I want to keep my money.
Not only do I like more money, I want to make more money.
Exactly. And a repeal,
I want to be rich like Nancy Pelosi.
Repeal in this case equals, that's very rich, but repeal in this case equals a tax increase on families, individuals, and businesses. Why is the economy doing so well? It's not by accident.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the horse. I've said it many times.
Horses have toothpaste?
They do in my scenario.
Those big chompers, of course. Okay.
Beautiful teeth. So what do we do here? What do we do with taxes in the economy to get the economy growing even further?
I think it's interesting that you didn't play a clip from Nancy Pelosi, because she's gotten so inarticulate, it sounds like a blender trying to talk. I mean, this woman yeah. I don't think taxes are going to be a big issue one way or another. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be very much, they're going to try to nationalize this on Trump. They're going to make him, he's not normal. This is what the Republicans want, racism, so on and so forth. And it's going to work to a lot of point. A lot of my Republican friends, I think, are being ostriches, because if you look at what happened in the Alabama Senate, you look at Pennsylvania, you look what just happened over the weekend in Scott Walker State, these are all trending blue. Now, does that guarantee something in November? No. But historically, everyone knows the midterms go against the president, and he's a very alienating and divisive president, and that's, frankly, one of his best qualities.
That's true, but that doesn't change the facts about the tax reform.
No, and I think people love their money more than they hate the president.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that Nancy Pelosi is still running with this after all of the backlash about her crumbs comments, she tripled, quadrupled down on that. And then today she's saying, well, if we take back the majority, we're going to make sure that people's paychecks are a little bit less than they are now. Because people are not only seeing their paychecks, they're talking to their accountants and filing their taxes, and the accountants are telling them how much money they're going to save this year. And it's thousands and thousands of dollars for these people. Just today at the town hall with President Trump in West Virginia, a woman broke down in tears talking about how impactful the tax reform bill has been for her family. So if Nancy Pelosi wants to continue to toe the line that Democrats are the elitists who are focused on making sure rich corporations, who are continually giving out bonuses, by the way, to their customers, or not to their customers, to their workers, go for it, Nancy. But I think that people are seeing that tangible result, and they're paying attention
Quickly,
to it.
We're going to move on.
I'm just saying, the YouTube shooter was yesterday. We've already forgotten about it. No one's going to remember April come November. I think we forget how quick things news cycle is these days.
But they'll remember the economy. Is the economy in good shape or not?
Yes, and people know when their bottom line is bolstered. People know when they're doing better, when they can do simple things with their family that they couldn't do a year ago, and that actually might breed complacency in some voters.
That's direct correlation.
All right. Well, the president today reaffirmed his confidence and embattled EPA Chief Scott Pruitt, telling reporters he's, quote, done a fantastic job. But White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley had some harsher words about the scandal. Tarred Cabinet Secretary saying, quote, I can't speak to the future of Scott Pruitt. I can just talk about where we are now. And that is that the White House is aware of these reports. That is quite a ringing endorsement. So what about these reports? Pruitt is said to have scored a sweetheart deal on a lobbyist to own D.C. condo. We're told he gave 2 of his employees significant raises without permission from the White House. Oh, and he also reportedly spent $160,000 of your tax dollars on first-class plane tickets and charter flights. Do you charter flights? I don't charter flights. So should Pruitt stay or will he go now? What do you think?
So when this first started brewing, this controversy around him, my instinct was this is an effective conservative who's actually implementing an agenda that the left is horrified about. So, of course, they're going to come out with all of their knives to try to take him down. And so I was suspicious of the pile-on. But as we learn more about some of the details of numerous allegations around him, there is something of a stench that's starting to waft that I can smell.
It is a swampy stench.
It is. It's too swampy. Yeah. Even if I like some of the things that he's doing as a matter of policy, I don't think we shouldn't dismiss what may be corruption.
All right. Well, and it seems like, you know, he's putting lobbyists, like chemical lobbyists, in charge of chemical regulations. I really enjoy that he hates the EPA. Right. And I think the president has a wonderful sense of humor, and I really, truly appreciate that he puts people in charge of entire agencies that they despise.
Well, and also that they have no clue about, like Ben Carson at HUD. Betsy DeVos is great at education because she's ideologically opposed to it. The thing the president realizes, no matter who he puts up, they're going to be attacked, vilified, compared to Nazis. So he might as well put up the most extreme, meaning ideologically coherent people that he can find, and hopefully they'll be able to do some damage to this federal leviathan. But, you know, they've got a long road to hoe.
Oh, boy, do they ever.
Yeah, like every other cabinet secretary possible firing, it's difficult to tell where the White House is on this. You had Hogan Higley not only saying what he did in the clip or the quote that you played, but aboard Air Force One today, he said, well, we see the same reports that you do, and the president has the highest ethical standards that we expect everyone to live up to. And then an hour later, you have President Trump saying, I think he's a great guy. I hope he does really well.
I think he doesn't like, despite his tagline on The Apprentice, I don't think he likes firing people.
No, he never fires anyone directly. You notice that?
Yeah.
He never actually sits them down to fire them. He does it indirectly.
No, John Kelly calls him and says, hey, you know what? Why don't you spark up your Twitter machine? I think the president might have some words for you.
Have you checked your text messages? Do you have the president's alerts for his tweets? Because you might want to check there's one for you.
That's a good way of doing business right there.
It is. You get clean hands and you're the good guy.
No, yeah, okay. That's good spin.
It's true, though.
Clean hands, you're tweeting and firing people and not telling them? That's not clean hands.
It's much dirtier when you're face-to-face and you have to interact with them. This is very corporate. It's not. You're the corporate one. You should approve of this stuff.
Oh my God.
I'm the corporate one.
Yeah, look, you're dressed.
This is not a corporate look. I'll give you that.
I know. I did this for you. I did this for you.
He's wearing jeans.
He's wearing jeans.
That's true.
And Michael Malice is from the Granimal section at Macy's men's store. Just glorious. Is that a giraffe print?
It is.
I adore it.
It's British.
Very good.
Oh, the shirt.
So classy. Yeah. The very classy party panel returns later. First up, we do have breaking news on the tariff battle with. All right, the snowflakes are at it again. The Virginia Tech Student Government Association publishing a resolution condemning conservative speakers, labeling them discriminatory incidents. That includes guest lecturers and speaking events that the student government claims would leave, quote, marginalized communities feeling, get this word, unsafe because of spoken words. That's right. Wasn't there a time when kids went to college to learn about free speech and differing opinions? Well, let me talk to some people who are no strangers to campus backlash. It's the party panel, Katie Pavlich, Michael Malice, and Guy Benson, and they have all caused campus riots. You've written an entire book on this subject.
End of discussion.
End of discussion with Mary Catherine Ham. Great book.
Thank you very much. And just today, on a related note, Kevin Williamson, formerly of National Review, was hired by The Atlantic and now fired by The Atlantic because of some thought crimes that he had, and he had some opinions that were offensive to many people that I happen to disagree with myself, but this is what they hired him to do, and there was a liberal outrage mob, and now he's out. And it starts on campus because people are inculcated into the mentality that this is okay, and that words are tantamount to violence.
Yes.
This unsafe thing is so Orwellian and so insidious because if you are taught and if you internalize that words equal violence, you can then justify violence to stop words.
Yes, absolutely.
And
right.
calling a lecture from someone like Charlie Kirk an unsafe intimidation event or a discriminatory incident on campus, it waters down the real definition of discrimination and racism and actual things that make people feel physically unsafe.
Yeah.
And it's a disgrace. And in some cases, it seems like it keeps getting worse.
Is it getting worse?
Yes, of course it's getting worse. It's getting worse in the sense that it's becoming more and more open and brazen. I disagree with you that kids used to go to colleges to have free speech. This has been the method for 100 years, but before they could get away with it, and they had the 3 networks under their thumb, because there were only 3 networks, and it looked like the status quo. One day I'm going to write a book called How the Soviets Won the Cold War, because when people talk about totalitarian regimes, and the evangelical left is certainly a totalitarian ideology, they don't send everyone to prison. All you have to do is pick off one person at a time, like the guy in England who's on trial right now for teaching his pug to do a Nazi salute as a joke, and he might be doing jail time, and everyone else falls into place. So it's things like this. You make Charlie a target, other schools follow suit, and very quickly you have a complete monopoly on thought and what people can say and do. And frankly, thanks to social media, they're being exposed, and this is why they're freaking out, because there is a backlash thanks to books like Guy and people who are speaking against this.
Yeah, absolutely. But they do want to activate a mob.
Yeah,
and you know, mobs start in classrooms and then they grow, and all of a sudden Berkeley's spending $600,000 on security because someone like Ben Shapiro or Milo comes to campus.
Yeah, I would say I think it has gotten worse. I speak on college campuses a couple times a semester, as I think you guys do. Yeah. It used to be that I could go to a college campus and it was normal not to be protested and not to have security. The norm now is that there is security provided because of the mob mentality that we are seeing on college campuses. And I would argue, yes, it comes to a head on campuses, but it starts in kindergarten in our public school system with the teachers who have a leftist ideology, who are indoctrinating children at that age, and they every single year of their life until they get to college are hearing about these ideas that anyone you disagree with, you have to squash their speech and you can't listen to them because they are bad people who you don't want to be friends with, so to speak. But the other thing I would say is incidents like this. Or
if they say something you don't agree with, you are unsafe and they can hurt you.
Right, they're hurting your feelings too much, right. But I would also say the solution to this is more conservatives continuing to go on campus. When they make proclamations like this to say that conservative speeches on campus are discriminatory events, that just makes the case that more of us have to go out and take the heat to go to campus and present different ideas, because I meet students all the time who disagree with me, who come to these speeches, and afterwards they say, I might still disagree with you, but at least I know you're not a monster.
But I'm glad I heard what you had to say for a nice honorarium, I might add. Thank you very much. All right. Guy, Michael, and Katie, thank you so much for being here. My friends. I love them all. Coming up.